Tonight, Around the Board previews the 17th Annual Dice Tower Awards, one of the biggest award ceremonies in gaming, second only to the illustrious Spiel des Jahres. The stars are out tonight, your hosts among them. No, it's not Bob Hope, Billy Crystal, Johnny Carson, Whoopi Goldberg, Jimmy Kimmel, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, or Chris Rock and Will Smith. It is the fine celebrities, the cream of the crop, the masters of ceremonies, Daniel Connors, John Theismann, Chris Thomason, and their comedic assistant, Andy Barnett, live from the world-famous theaters of their minds. This is Around the Board.
Well, thank you for that very inspiring introduction, Andy.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you. See, I said the stars are out tonight, and I even brought my trophy from when I was Skull King World Champion, and it had little stars on it.
Did you ever watch Al Bundy from Married with Children? How he talked about his high school catching 4 touchdowns in one game?
I gotta go with whatever, I gotta just whenever it's the only thing I've ever done in my life. So, except being on Transformers, I guess I was that. So
yeah,
I was thinking more Uncle Rico is what I was thinking more of with the.
Yeah, exactly. Because Al Bundy did do something. Yes. Uncle Rico is just like, I could have done something.
That's true. That's true.
Andy did something. He won the 2021 Skull King Championship.
It's true.
Yeah. Board games are meant to be competitive. We all know
That's
that.
Right.
Meant to be tournaments.
That's right.
Yeah, well, speaking of competitiveness and board gaming, we're in what we call this award season. Right? And I know if you guys are like me, like I love awards.
Oh, wait.
I love the Oscar awards. And what has happened? What?
I played the con sound because I don't have an awards sound because you did it's award season. And anyway.
It's funny, Andy. I always hate your little inputs that you put there with the sound. And it's like the universe has heard me because I can't hear anything you do. I don't know why. And it's been this way for like 6 months now.
Good.
Daniel's never been happier.
All right.
I know, it's great.
I pretty much play the sound effects just to get the reaction on Chris's face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Or John.
Chris
Sometimes John. John
right.
usually just looks at me disapprovingly. Chris,
Yes.
I get a pretty good reaction usually.
Chris changes colors.
You were saying,
John pulls the dad, and I pull the annoyed brother.
Speaking of our colors, we all wore our Hollywood best.
Yes, we did.
So this is so my dice tie. See my dice tie.
Very nice.
Ooh, very nice.
John is
We got the red ties. I'm in the red corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I've been working on the packages for Christmas in July. So.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to wear your best, Chris. Whatever the best is, I'm glad you brought it.
Just put it on. Just bring it.
I actually own a tux, but I didn't put it on. I wasn't feeling so great. So I put on a polo instead. It's like, it's still dressing up for me.
Wow.
Must be nice.
Hey, we're just glad you're here, Andy. We know you're not feeling great. You're a little under the weather. So, well, guys, hey, this episode's all going to be dedicated to just talking about the Dice Tower Awards. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. Despite what Chris thinks and everything else, I really enjoy board game awards. I used to love the Oscars when I was super into movies, but now they started nominating movies I never ever heard of before, so now I kind of stopped watching them. But I love award seasons.
Yeah, it's always been that way.
No, I used to be more into movies. Like I used to have heard these movies before. Fair. I was watching tons of them. But now I get to do that with board games because I've actually heard of these board games. Unlike the Spiel des Jahres, when they nominate things, sometimes you're just like, what? They're getting better. But the Dice Tower, I have always heard of the games that they nominate, and they are always the cream of the crop, the best in class. And I'm always excited to see who they're going to nominate and who to talk about it. So I'm glad that we finally have a chance to talk about them. We're going to look at the past. We're going to look at since 2007. We're going to talk about the best ones we've seen. We're going to talk about the worst ones that they've had. And we're going to talk about this year's and our thoughts on this year's. So I'm excited for this episode.
I'm excited too. And I just have to bring this up because you mentioned the honorable Spiel des Jahres, which I admit has gone downhill a little bit. And I think it really has to do with Germany being part of the EU. If they would get back to their roots as an empire, well, maybe not those roots.
Daniel, I gotta say, Daniel, as much as I was hesitant about having an entire episode dedicated to another YouTube channel, the Dice Tower Awards have usurped things like the Spiel des Jahres in terms of relevance, and they have grown beyond their channel to where they are relevant to everything everybody talks about board games, because that's just the way to live, for many of the reasons that Daniel mentioned.
Chris, do you hear that?
Number one, these are games that actually came out last year for the 2023 awards. That's pretty amazing.
Do you hear what I'm hearing over there?
I mean, John has a point that at least they're actual games that came out last year. So I'll give him that. But you know,
I believe that was a little Tom Vassell kissing butt.
Yeah.
Hey, it wasn't my idea to do this.
Well, the Daniel. The jar is not much of a leg to stand on. So
yeah,
I think this
is a low bar.
I think this is just Daniel's attempt to get us on the Dice Tower Network still.
It could be.
Well, it is.
I think it's going to go well for that by the end of the show. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, we're gonna offend everybody.
Great.
Well, and I want to say that I put out a scientific poll on our Facebook page, and overwhelmingly people voted that the Dice Tower were the most relevant award by like
why is it a 40%? Scientific poll? You just because you called it that?
Yes.
Yes.
I was like,
yeah.
I put out a scientific poll as opposed to those mythological polls.
The real question is, how many burner accounts did you use for this, Daniel?
That's right. See, Andy, I have a journalist degree, so I know how to make polls and to spin them. So
a journalist degree or a journalism degree?
Whatever, either way. It's just as valuable. All right, guys. Well, enough of this nonsense. Are we ready to talk about the Dice Tower Awards and get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah, we haven't done the theme music in forever, so I really think we need to.
Time to play the game. I agree. Time to play the game.
That's right. Around the Board is all about playing a game, 4 games in fact, in 4 unique segments. Whoever gets the most points in said segments will have the chance to pontificate about things at the end. We are going to do points right here, I believe still. Our judge behind the scenes is going to award us based on our opinions on these various topics on the Dice Tower Awards. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, we cut it in post.
I mean, this is episode like near 50, right? And we've done the same thing all the time, so I don't know why it'd be different now.
Well, here's round 1. Round 1. Fight!
All right, guys. So in this segment, we're going to take a look at the past. We're going to look at the Dice Tower Award nominees from all the way back to 2007 to 2020. And we have each picked a single year that, in our opinion, was the best year. And we're going to take our 90 seconds to tell you why we think that this was the best year of the Dice Tower Awards. I nailed that. Knocked that one out of the park. All right, so let's start with John.
Must be that journalism degree.
Yep. John, let's hear your opinion there, bud.
Well, I'm waiting for my exclusive. There we go. I'm waiting for my shot. I want to look good in my tux here. All right. So I went through every year.
A little longer.
I'm sorry, Andy. It's my turn. So I'm waiting. So I'm wading through the garbage. So I went through every year of the Dice Tower Awards, and I looked at everything that was nominated for every category, everything that won every category, and I came up with one year that I think stood way above the rest. And may I have the envelope, please, of the winning year? Thank you.
Ooh, oh wow! Look at that production value. Got an assistant even.
And the winner is
well done.
2019. Yes. The winners of note in 2019, believe it or not, best co-op game, Horrified. Actually, a co-op game that I've enjoyed playing.
That's a good one. Cool.
Best expansion, Quacks of Quinlanburg, the Herb Witches. Everything about Quacks is dependent on those expansions. It makes the game so much better. What a great choice. Best family game, Point Salad. It even beat out Tiny Towns. What a great year for some family games. And what's that?
It ain't hard to beat out Tiny Towns.
Well, that's true. According to Chris, anyway. But Point Salad, great game. Best game from a new designer, Wingspan. Anyone ever heard of that? Elizabeth Hargrove. Best game from a small publisher, Res Arcana. What an amazing game. I've enjoyed every play I've had of that.
That is true.
Best party game, Wavelength. If you guys have ever played Wavelength, that game is so much fun. Best theming, once again, Horrified. I can't disagree there. It is great theming for a game. Best 2-player game is Watergate. How awesome is that? It even beat out, we had Unmatched and we had Funko come out that same year. What a great year for 2-player games. And even the most innovative game, which is usually just a weird category, but the most innovative game, Detective City of Angels. If you guys have never played this game, it's a story mode non-co-op game. You're competing with everybody. The person that is trying to get away with the crime is trying to get away with the crime, and they're trying to make the witnesses tell you one thing or another, and you're going around interviewing witnesses and gathering evidence, trying to figure out who done it. An amazing game. So another one there. And of course, the game of the year, none other than Wingspan once again. So I don't know how you can do better than 2019. It stood out head and shoulders above all the rest. So there you go, 2019. That's the best year of the Dice Tower Awards, hands down.
So John, I want to throw this out there. You definitely did more research than us. I think the rest of the three of us realized we were just going to look at the best game of the year. No, Chris is giving me the no. Okay, well, me and Andy did.
I looked at just the nominees for best game of the year.
See, Andy heard the instructions, but I liked what you did, John, and I appreciate it. But I do want to say something about 2019. I actually ranked all of the years just to try to figure out what the best and the worst was. So 2019 was my number one being the best. That was my number 15.
Wow, are you serious?
Wow. Yeah, that again, just looking at the game of the year, we have Detective City of Angels. No one's heard of that game ever since. Lord of the Rings Journey to Middle Earth was such a failure in implementation that as a nomination was like Paladins, whatever. There always has to be a Garfield game.
What?
And then
Paladins
Horrified
game.
Empires of the North, Watergate, like all of these games are forgettable, and then of course Wingspan, one of the most overrated games in our generation.
Please. Okay, we'll let the people decide. I bet you they'll agree with me.
I can't agree with Daniel much more than that.
That doesn't happen very often.
Daniel, you're looking good tonight.
Yeah, calm down over there, Andy.
I'm sorry. It's getting hot.
What you just said was going to go along with the first game I'm going to talk about here when I say my year, based on because I did a typo, and we'll get that in a second. All right, so we all know me, right? So in what year was the first year that we could do this? 2007, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so you guessed it. The best year of all of them is 2008 through 2010. That's right. 3 years I picked.
You can't do 3?
Across those 3 years, across all of the different categories, we have, this is Andy's game, Racy for the Galaxy. I wrote Racy, not Race for the Galaxy.
Racy?
Space Alert, which again I know doesn't have like massive appeal, but it's a big. It was a game, a industry changing kind of game, right? It really changed kind of the way people viewed games. Dominion, Formula D, which was actually just a reimplementation of Formula Day, which is better. Which right here you can't see it, but it's whatever. Descent. Even if you don't really like dungeon crawlers, it was a huge game, a community-changing dungeon crawler. Small World. This game, if you've not played it, I don't care who you are, how long you've been in the industry, this is fantastic. Infinite replayability, so great. And then Seven Wonders. Those games all came out in 2008 through 2010. Those are, I could not pick them because they were all split across those three, and I couldn't decide which one of those three because they were all split. And I was just like, I'm going with all three because they were so incredible. But again,
all right. Not only are you over time,
to be on brand, this is me being real. Those games were incredible. And then you'll probably figure out what I'm going to do about worst games here in a moment.
Not only are you over time, but you have broken all the rules of the game. I submit to Randy that he deserves negative points for this thing. He can't just claim, I like this period of time. Well, I like the 21st century for board gaming. It's been great compared to the 20th century.
That's false.
Chris, I agree. That was very Andy of you. So
yeah, you got to pick a year, man.
It was very Andy of you, the way you handled that segment.
What's stopping me from doing it? The rules!
But I will admit, when I saw Small World and I saw Seven Wonders, I was tempted to use those years, but I was going for the overall year, everything that made the year great. So this one had all the nominees in there not all of them, as Daniel did point out the weak spots, but they all have weak spots. I thought this had the most strongest lineup.
As usual, none of us are on the same page, so that's great. Let's continue.
Exactly. Yeah, not even follow the rules by dressing.
You can't even follow the rules with dressing. That's right.
Hey, Chris, I thought you were going to say the reason you picked 3 years was because those games combined were the same amount that were in the years like 2022.
That's
because
pretty accurate.
That's also a good point.
That's pretty accurate.
That's fair.
Because at one point he nominated 5 games and then they changed it to 10 games. So you essentially picked 10 games worth of of nominations there.
Yeah, I might get into that when we talk about best of 2023. We'll see.
Okay.
By the way, best of 2023 will be for the year 2023.
Yes,
correct.
That's right.
Yes.
Just let you know, Chris,
Ahead
of time.
I thought that was a spiel joke, not me.
I did too.
It was not a spiel joke. It was a you joke. So I followed the rules, and I will agree with Chris that one of those years was the best, far and away the best, and that would be 2008. If you look at the titles that were nominated for Best Game of the Year, not a one of them is a bad game. Now, I will say that I don't like some of them as much as others, but they're all award-winning games, highly thought of, every single one everybody's heard of. So you've got Dominion, which won overall. You've got Pandemic, which is the first huge co-op. It's not the first huge, but it's thought of as the.
Oh, it was. Yeah,
it's thought of as the huge.
But it was
co-ops on the map.
that was on there. But regardless, it was four.
You've got Agricola, which Agricola was the first one where, I mean, Uwe Rosenberg did have Le Havre as well, and some others, but Agricola was his one that really broke through. I feel like the ceiling, and he made a name for himself with Agricola, and everybody loves Agricola, unless you're an idiot like Chris, or Daniel or John. So, and then Stone Age. Stone Age is obviously it's the mother of all worker placements. People call it that. And then even I have a soft spot in my heart for Battlestar Galactica, the board game, because at least thematically it really works really well, and it's not completely co-op, so I can put up with it just a little bit because of that. So, but anyway, far and away, 2008 was way above any of the others, because there were several games in the other years where it's like, I don't even know what this game is. All right, fine. Yeah, Daniel, your turn.
No, I agree with you, Andy. Not my turn yet. I wanted to respond to you. That was a top 5 contender for me, or a number 6. But I did want to go back to Chris's just slightly. The other 2 that Chris picked were near the bottom for me. So he was a little mixed on there. But I do think 2008 is a case for one of the best years out there. If anything, Pandemic and Agricola and Stone Age and Dominion. And like you said, Battlestar was like awesome.
Like I even almost put that down on my notes, but like I feel like that game's a bit polarizing. Like it almost like is almost like this like mythic grail game that I'm not sure even everyone's really played it as much as it just being mythical. So
Chris is the Cylon.
But when it came out, that game was hot, and it also changed the industry in the sense that, like, absolutely. At this point, IP games were garbage. They weren't even worth looking at, but this changed everything, and this was the game that is probably credited with the IP revolution that we are going to see for the next several years to come.
Sure. Yeah. What you get?
Okay. So my best year, I listed all of them. I went from my top to the bottom. I want to send out a couple honorable mentions. It was 2014, 15, and 16. Those were incredible years. Those were also like exactly the time I was starting to get into the industry. So there could be a little bit why I'm skewed a little bit in those favors, but ultimately, and let me just say what the best of were on those years. So, 14 was, hold on, I got them all pulled up here. So 14
Actually,
game of the year was
don't.
Dead of Winter. 15 was Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and 16 was Scythe. So some very solid games. But the one I went with was 2013. As Andy had mentioned about Agricola, while I did enjoy Agricola, I think Caverna, which was the game of the year, was the crowning achievement of Uwe Rosenberg's career. I know some people would say Feast for Odin, some would say Le Havre. Those are all great choices, but Caverna really refined some of those early things that he was dealing with in the heavy Euro realm, and it really put Uwe and made him all of a sudden. Everyone is looking at his games all the time now. We also have a game-changing game, which was Freedom: The Underground Railroad. It was one of these first games that had a very deep topic about slavery, and did it in a respectful way, and took an educational game and made it to where it could be on the top 10 and still talked about today. And I will say, some people asked why this game wasn't on our best games, America games. And the reason it did not get brought up was because it was too serious of a topic for the silliness we were trying to have. So I did not want to throw that in there, just FYI. But we have...
so you wanted to whitewash American history.
Whatever. We were being silly. That was the problem.
I wasn't there. I can say whatever I want.
That's right. He wasn't there.
All right. So we have Concordia, which is one of Andy's favorite. Almost thought this would win Andy's best just because of Concordia. We have Pathfinder, the adventure card game, which is an incredible game that me and my family still enjoy to this day. We have Bruges. We have Russian Railroads, and we have the Eldritch Horror, which was an Ameritrash game that they just, again, refined what Arkham Asylum had done for so long and really made it better. So that was a great year. Also, I don't know if I said Trains, which is essentially Dominion, but better. And while that one has fallen off the map, wait, you're shaking your head at a train game, Chris?
No, it's
yes,
trains. It's essential. I give you
you build routes, you build cities. It's wonderful. It's so much better than Dominion, and it's the same game.
Disagree. They're both great, but they're not the same game.
Well, yeah, Trains is better.
So, Daniel, which one of these was Game of the Year? Was it Caverna?
Caverna was, yes.
And when was the last time you played Caverna?
3 years ago.
Thank you.
It was actually, but it's because nobody was playing with me. Because last time I played
there's a reason for that.
John, Andy, when's the
last time you played your Game of the Year?
By the way, hold on for a second,
Andy,
John.
no. When's the last time you played the game that you nominated for Game of the Year as the best year?
Oh, which one was it?
I don't know. You tell me. Which one did you nominate?
Dominion's the one that won. What do you mean? I didn't nominate a game. I nominated a year.
Yes, that's the year. So when's the last? Because you probably played Dominion the last year, have you?
I have, actually.
Okay. Chris, how about you for your game?
You know what's really funny, John? This is fantastic.
Oh, you have 3 games.
Well done, sir. Because I picked 3 years, and I can't remember the last time I played any one of those games.
Thank you. I played Wingspan no less than 5 times probably in the last year. So Wingspan still gets played.
That's
one reason that it's still relevant.
Those hours.
A lot of these years you're picking, they're not relevant. I'm sorry.
You're not relevant.
That's you kissing up to Elizabeth Hargrove, right?
That's what I want her on the show.
There you go. He's officially trying to, woo her.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, let us know. What is your look at from 2007 2022? What was the best crop of games that were nominated by the Dice Tower? If you want to look at the full year, like John did, go for it. Or if you just want to look at the best games of the year, but let us know which one of us do you disagree or agree with, and do you think any of us that was actually the worst year? That would be fun to know. I actually wonder if Chris's worst year was John's best year.
Could be.
I could see that being a thing.
We'll find out.
Round 2, fight.
All right, so in round 2, we looked at the best in round 1. Now for round 2, we're going to look at the worst of the year. And because Chris is always so quick to tell us how bad board games are, we're actually pretty convinced he actually doesn't like board games at all. Tell us, Chris, which one is the worst year? And you can't say all of them.
Well, that would not be possible because I already said 2008 through 2010 was the best. But you know what? As with anything, right? You start good, it gets worse, and then it really goes downhill. So you can probably guess that my worst year was 2017 through the present. It's all been downhill since Gloomhaven was up there, Downforce, a family kid version of Formula D, just one because we can't play board games anymore. They gotta be party games, apparently, guys. And then Keyforge, the only reason that game Daniel likes is because no one else knows how to play it, so he can win. And then we got Lost Ruins of Arnak. That game's just awful. I've never liked that. Ark Nova is like terraforming Mars, except they forgot the best part of the game, which is the draft. And that's just those parts. And then we're going to talk about some individual years here. 2019. We had Wingspan, Parks, and Cloudspire. What has happened to the industry? Why are
I know it's gotten so much worse since then.
Going to the park and something about clouds. What has happened to my industry? Then in 2020, we got real stupid, or at least the Dice Tower did, because now we gotta award people for most welcoming game, as well as excellence in rules teaching. What the crap? Why does any of that matter? It doesn't. It makes no difference in playing the game. And then in 2021, everyone, I understand we had COVID and everything like that, but apparently we all coped with it, realizing we don't have any friends anymore, because now we got to start caring about the best solo game of Final Girl. And then in 2022, the only upside about 2022 is that Wonderland's War was nominated for a whole lot of things, and it didn't win a single thing. So that was a win. I almost picked 2022 for that singularly, but I did not.
I don't even want to touch that because, again, you broke the rules. How many years did you talk about there? Was that 5 this time?
It was technically 6.
So just to clarify, we were dealing with about 17 years worth of awards, and you claimed 8 of them as your best and worst years.
Yes,
that's correct.
Okay.
And all the other years were just I didn't even care about. They were all games that I was just like I didn't hate, but I didn't like. I was just like these games are just whatever.
Yeah, if you're ever wondering if this is a gimmick for Chris, it's not.
It's not. But I do have to agree with all the different categories that they've come up with, because then as I'm going through each one, I'm like, wait a minute, what categories are on there this year?
Bananas. It's ridiculous.
They got a little crazy with it. I would agree.
I have a little more to talk about in the next or in the final segment that I'll follow up on that on.
All right. Well, I kind of had a hard time with this one because, for one thing, I just realized as I was looking at the list that there's 2 rows of nominations for Best Game of the Year. I was looking only at 1 row, I think. So, whoops. I actually might have, had I known that, I actually think I might have said 2016 was the best year because Terraforming Mars, Feast for Odin, and Great Western Trail all came out that year. Oof.
Yeah.
Oh, good games.
Don't look, Andy, but you're breaking the rules now.
I know. Well, I figured if Chris is breaking them, I might as well join him. So, honestly,
only one person can break the rules. That's right. The rule.
This is not fair because there are some good games on this list, but I'm going to give the worst one because the game won it, and that was 2020, The Crew. Come on, that's the game of the year. That's all you got. That's it. I'm sorry. A little co-op trick-taking game should not be game of the year. It's fine, but it's nothing. And then you've got other things on there that are just I mean, Calico, Calico's so. I mean, unless you're a cat person, I'm not a cat person. Me and JD Vance. Just kidding. Just kidding. Had to go there. We're hosting an award show. You know what they do at an award show? They get political.
There you go.
Anyway,
that is fair. Like that's a fair take.
And you got a Pandemic, Legacy, Season 0. You do have Dune Imperium and Lost Ruins of Arnak, which are fantastic games, despite what Chris says. But we'll go with 2020 as the worst, just because of that stupid The Crew as the best game of the year.
I got to tell you, Andy, it's almost as silly as putting a party game as one of your top 5 games you're interested in looking at Gen Con. So that
who did that?
That was you.
What
that was you?
Which game?
So I got a question. This is real talk here. How did The Crew win in 2020? Like,
well, it was published in 2019, so the awards it happens after the year it was published.
No. So they if it came out in December of the year before,
gotcha.
They will count it as the previous year, as the next year.
Because I was going to say, unless it was on Board Game Arena, which maybe it is, because I just don't play board games online because I have friends. But like, because I was like, how did that even get played to where it would win? Because we were all locked down. But whatever.
Yeah, maybe it was right before, because I think a lot of people have played it at Essen. But no, it made sense that year. I will say, I think it's lost its luster just ever so slightly. But that year it came out. This is the game everyone was talking about. It made sense that this game won. But I can also see how, in retrospect, and you're right. The other class of games just are like, what, like Isle of Cats? Like that's a top 10 game. Forgotten Waters.
Best welcoming game that year, by the way. I did remember.
It was.
There you go.
Well, I mean that's okay. And then Dune Imperium, who wants that garbage?
I didn't think about it, but you're right. The fact that Calico and Isle of Cats were on there, maybe that's what subconsciously made me vote it, because
probably what it was.
Anti the cats.
That's right.
I'm no friend of the feline.
All right, so my worst year, I will say I almost wanted to go last on this one because I was willing to change it because I have a feeling that John might pick the same year as me. But in case, I'll tell you guys too, just in case. Well, it doesn't matter. My worst year,
just have a year,
was the first year they did this, and that was 2007. You guys, if you've been watching the show since the beginning, you probably know I do not like Race for the Galaxy. It was one of these games I played early on in my gaming career, and it was one of the most miserable experiences I've had. I have told Andy and Chris that I would play it now that I'm more experienced and I understand iconography a lot better. But man, that Race for the Galaxy, that was tough. That was a tough game to learn and to play. Nothing about it was intuitive to new players. It was really tough. The other ones is Duel in the Dark. Now, I understand that I think Duel in the Dark was kind of rethemed and remade into X-Wing. So there might be some longevity to it there, but like that's a game that just died immediately. And then 1960 Making of the President, while I heard is an incredible game, it like stayed in like reprint limbo for years. So if it was that popular, why in the world could they not get a reprint of it until like a year ago? And then the other one was Zoo Redo, which I enjoyed Aqua Redo, and I enjoyed it a lot to the point where I hunted down Zularedo, and that game was garbage. Like I don't even know why. There was nothing there that like simple choices are great in a game, but when it's only simple choices and there's no depth to those simple choices, not a fan. And then Age of Empires 3, that's a good game. But overall, this year just did not ring true to me. It just felt very forgettable. I'm scrolling through some of the other ones real quick, and I'm seeing just nothing impressive from each category. Just nothing that holds the candle of time. Here, Kalis was on the best reprint. That was one that's probably worth on there. But everything else on here, Cutthroat Caverns won best small publisher. Ugh. Over Kingsburg?
Yeah.
Kingsburg should have won over Cutthroat Caverns. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Anyways, this was not a great year.
I've never actually played Cutthroat Caverns, but I really want to. From everything I've read about it, actually sounds like a lot of fun. But
if you like Munchkin, you'll like Cutthroat Caverns.
What?
If you like Munchkin, you'll like Cutthroat Caverns.
Oh, really? Well, is that what it is?
I remember
they were trying to say it's better than Munchkin. It's not.
I remember there being significantly more agency with it, but regardless, again, I just need to play. I can't say for sure, but I will say, obviously, because of my shtick, I immediately was like, "Well, it's gonna be 2007, right?" And I opened it up, and I was like, "Nah, it ain't 2007." And, and so I agree with you there. But I did play Zularedo, and I still own it. Actually, have your copy and have given it to me because of how you feel about it. But like I think thinking about sitting about it here just right now, I agree. It's not super deep. It's simple and not super deep. I wonder if it's like the first game to really kind of push the cutesiness. Maybe it was the first game that really took off because of the cutesiness. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's about a zoo, right? So because yeah, looking back, it definitely doesn't hold up. I played it within the last year or so with my family, and it was like fine. But I was like, I was like, people have always raved about this game, and it's fine.
There wasn't a lot there. Even my family was like, it's fine. Like, I don't know. It fell flat.
Daniel, for you, as much as you trash Race for the Galaxy, you like other games with heavy iconography. So it really boggles my mind because you like, for instance, Tom Lehman did Res Arcana, and you love that. He did, he didn't do it, but you did. Seasons was one of your favorite games. That had crazy iconography on it. So
I think
super
you just intuitive.
Had one bad experience, and
trust me, it was more than one. But no, this is the difference. I gotta defend the iconography real quick. When you see a picture of a card and it says and has a hand, it says draw a card, that makes sense. You have a picture of a card being tapped, that makes sense. A circle means war, and a green circle means production, and a square means flying to space. That doesn't make sense.
Well, that's just because you don't speak that language.
Yes, you're right.
Speak hieroglyph.
Beep boop pop. Beep boop.
All right.
Anyway.
Daniel, I thought I was going to go that route. I see why you thought 07 was going to be my year, because I thought, well, I'm going to go down there and it's going to be all garbage. And it probably was, but I wasn't even familiar enough with the garbage to have that much of an opinion on it. So I didn't feel right rating that garbage. So I went through all the rest of the years and I came up with the list of the worst games of the year that I picked. So can I have that list, please? Thank you. Here we go. Here's the garbage.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. Worst year of the Dice Tower Awards was 2011. That's right, 2011. The game of the year was that monstrosity Eclipse that nobody plays. It could have been King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo was an amazing game. It should have been game of the year. But just to show you that should have been game of the year, showed you how bad the cast was. Best reprint. I just had to put this down. Confusion, Espionage, and Deception in the Cold War. Has anyone ever heard of or played this game? Because
no, I
don't know of anyone that. And I've said, to be honest, there was no better games in that category. So there you go. That's pretty good. This is what really gets me.
Wait. There was no better games in that category. Puerto Rico's in that category.
In best reprint?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I rest my case. Okay, then best. This is what's funny. Best theming, Best New Designer, and Best Game from a Small Publisher were all Flashpoint Fire Rescue, which there's always 5 copies in every game trade trying to be traded of Flashpoint Fire Rescue. I've owned it for 5 minutes and tried playing it a little bit, and I was like, this is a job. I'm getting rid of this game. They ignored Last Will. Last Will could have been one of those games. I mean, but to be honest, there weren't many other choices except for what else was there? Oh, Sentinels of the Multiverse could have been best game from a new designer. That might have been better. That stayed relevant for a long time.
Nope.
The only other one was best party game, Dixit. I'm not a big fan of Dixit either. So,
but Dixit's great. That was
it is, but I'm not a fan of it. But
Dixit is terrible.
But one of the options that they had was one of the options they had for party game was Crappy Birthday, which I thought for this year that would have been the perfect choice, was to pick Crappy Birthday as the. Has anyone even heard of that? That was one of the nominees.
Z Garcia loved it. That's why it got a lot
okay. Well, I thought that would have made it perfect. Have it Crappy Birthday on the worst year of the Dice Tower Awards. Why not? 2011. That's
Hey, I do want to point out though, 2011 has the most innovative game, Risk Legacy. And maybe that game alone could have saved an entire year, because that introduces all the legacy games that
was that the first legacy game? Really?
It was the first legacy game.
Oh yeah,
that is accurate.
I thought it was D&D.
Let's just move on from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how did Sentinels in the Multiverse not win?
I know.
And actually,
right?
Confusion is actually funny because that's the best reprint. I have it pulled up here. John, you're 100% right. This is what Confusion beat out. Can't Stop.
Yeah.
Evo, which is a beautiful remake. It's wonderful. Puerto Rico and Games of Thrones, the board game. A Game of Thrones, the board game. Confusion won out of all of those. Yeah. I don't know what they were smoking there.
Yeah.
I would be remiss to mention that this couldn't have been the worst year, just John, simply because of the fact that Castles of Burgundy came out that year.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
That. It did win Game of the Year though.
Exactly. That was the writer, right? Like, it had to be based on the ones they picked, not just because it was a nominee or whatever. The ones that won. That's what I looked at. So purely. I mean, I glanced at the nominees, but I was purely picking based on what
it has to be a good Game of the Year for it to win. In my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to point out 2011 too, because this is the most egregious game on any of the list, and that is the Ares Project. Have you guys ever heard of the Ares Project?
No.
Vaguely.
I've heard of it.
It is. You can get it for $2 for the past 20 years. Like, it is one of the most bloated, just weird games. I gave my copy to Randy, and I still don't think he's busted it open. And that was like, I bought it in like 2012 for $2. Like, the fact that was like Game of the Year, that's like, oh boy. All right, well, that's it. What was the worst for you guys out there? What year just did not hold up to what we expect in board games, and how wrong is Chris? All right, well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about what's going on this year at the Dice Tower Awards.
We'll return after these messages.
Honest Board Games. Why we own these board games. Twilight Imperium. You brag you own, but you never play the game. Arkham Horror the card game. Now you can say you love Lovecraft without reading Lovecraft. Root. Let your friends know you can play a coin game, but you won't. Everdell. It has a giant tree. (1846). You hate making new friends, and you hate yourself. Star Wars Rebellion. Because you can make a better Star Wars movie than Disney.
All right, we're back. Thank you so much for joining us here. The stars are out. It's a wonderful evening. Oh my goodness, it's so nice to be with all you happy people tonight. Daniel, why don't we get into our third segment?
Round 3, fight!
All right, well, this is the part of the show where we wanted to see if anybody had any political speeches to give. No? Nobody? Okay, good. So, no, we are going to be talking about the Dice Towers Hall of Fame. So last year they introduced 50-ish games, maybe 50 exactly, not sure, games into the Hall of Fame. And these games ranged from the beginning of time to 2011. All right. So now from here on out, every year, the Dice Tower is going to introduce a couple more. I don't know if they've actually given out the amount that they're going to do, but this year they happen to do 2. And I do want to just highlight what the criteria is, just so we all know, because we're going to talk about their choices. Do we agree with their choices? And would we have picked something else instead? So here are the criteria for the Hall of Fame. It has to be at least 10 years old, which is weird because I thought it had to be 12 because they're 12 years. 2012 is 12 years ago. And surely there's not any, like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but they say 10 years, but whatever. It must have a credited designer and publisher. So, like, it can't be public domain. So it can't be like, chess. Like, no one knows who actually made chess. So, like, that's not a valid thing to be in there.
I met that guy. Come on.
Yeah. And then it must
be. He was at Gen Con last year.
Was he now? Okay,
Queen.
cool.
It was that Queen, right?
I missed that one. And then the last thing is, must be important to the hobby or board game in terms of quality of design and or impact on gaming. I could be wrong, but like a game like Monopoly's not in there because while it had an impact in like our culture, it's not an impact in hobby gaming. So it needed to have something of significance to it. So, but this year, in 2023, they added 2 more games to the Hall of Fame, and we're going to talk about whether we agree with these ones or not. And the 2 games are Lords of Waterdeep and Love Letter.
They actually inducted quite a few of those the mainstream games that you don't care about. So Candyland's in there, Clue is in there, Monopoly's in there, Sorry, Pit, Battleship, Stratego, Yahtzee.
Okay, well, hey,
The Game of Life, Mousetrap.
I'm just reading what it said here. The most important to the hobby and quality and design. I don't know how these were important to the hobby, but okay, whatever.
Chess? No,
because they created the hobby.
I sure. Okay, whatever. The point is, no games like that got picked for 2012.
No.
We actually got good games like Lords of Waterdeep and Love Letter. This time we're going to go around in more of a freestyle form here. So just let's talk about Love Letter for a second, guys. Do you agree or disagree with Love Letter? I will just start it off. I will say I actually do
freestyle
agree
rapid
with Love Letter.
Yeah.
Do it. All right, Love Letter I agree with. I think it changed the industry for the small games. It kind of made small packages actually relevant and people look at them. Not this guy, I don't like it.
Gosh.
I'm sorry.
Are we laughing about small package?
No, continue. This is a PG show.
Keep going. Someone say something.
Oh my God.
So Love Letter.
What do you think of? Okay.
Love Letter is an okay game, but I don't know that it belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think that's a little bit of an overachievement for it. I like Lords of Waterdeep in there. That makes sense, but I'm not a big fan of Love Letter. I've got a real gripe with this list. I don't know if you want me to make it now or you want to make it later.
Make it later.
We'll make it later. We're talking about Love Letter right now.
Okay, fine. Love Letter. Love Letter, like I said, like you said, it's a nice, fine little small game, a little filler game, but I don't think it belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Like, the only thing that's Hall of Fame about this game is the fact that they made like a million different like IP knockoffs. Like, that's it. Like and some of them are worth a whole bunch of money, but the actual game itself is fine. But like, honestly, in the 10 minutes, like kind of filler that it is, it's that quick. I'd rather just go get some more pizza and go to the bathroom before my next game. Like, I just there's no reason to spend 10 minutes playing this game.
What? It's a good game. It's fun.
John,
what do you think?
I would have to agree with Daniel on this. I think Love Letter is one of those ones that reaches out to the masses that Chris hates, the uncultured masses that don't play games, and they'll sit down and they'll play that and they'll get, oh, hey, this is actually, I can do this. This is really cool. I like making strategic thoughts about what I do, what I ask for from someone else, how I play my cards. It makes a difference. I'm not just playing Uno, I'm doing something real with my time.
Yeah.
And so I think that really opened the eyes of a lot of people. And then all the different IPs that came out with it just reached even more people, and it changes the game ever so slightly in each one. So Hall of Fame, I'm iffy on whether it goes in the Hall of Fame. It's definitely a really good game. And I when I saw the games that came out for the year 2012, I had no problem with it going in the Hall of Fame from that year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just look at all the micro games that followed it. Like Bud and Shy Games, like literally exist because of this game. Like it made a 18 card card game, whatever you want to call it, something that people will look for. It was an impact of the hobby. You may not like it very well, and that's fine, but it was definitely an impact of the hobby. Chris, did you have something else to say?
All I was going to say is apparently I just need to dress up because John put very eloquently, there you go, eloquently. See, it is based on what you're wearing, right? Eloquently, how I feel about the community, the uncultured masses. I couldn't put it better.
All right,
just call Chris the gatekeeper.
That's right.
What about?
Are you the keymaster?
He's happy about it too.
Yes.
All right. Well, what about Lords of Waterdeep, which is one of my favorite games? I love the game. What do you guys think about it?
I'll take this one real quick first. Lords of Waterdeep. When I played that for the first time, I can't remember what year it was. It's been a long time. When I played it for the first time, it was my first induction into the whole worker placement category of games. And oh my word, was I blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love the strategic thoughts that you have. I love, I got to put in there. And when I can take them back and do this, I can make this building. I can do this. Oh, they use my building. I get something. I loved everything about it. I mean, Lords of Waterdeep, undeniable, should be in the Hall of Fame for that reason only. I know people say, well, Stone Age was the real, forebearer of the worker placement, but I just love how smooth Lords of Waterdeep is. I don't know how to describe it, that it's so much better, but it blew me away. That's all I can say, is it blew me away, and it definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I like Lords of Waterdeep, but I have a couple of complaints about Lords of Waterdeep, and I'm going to be honest. This is one that maybe Chris considers a pro for it, but you might as well call it Cubes of Waterdeep, because all it is moving colored cubes everywhere. And that just kind of detracts from the theme a little bit. And speaking of theme, it's totally slapped on. I mean, yes, it's got a D&D theme, but it's just a worker placement game. It's a nameless worker placement game. You could put any theme you want on it. Now, was it a fine worker placement game? Yeah, it's fine, and it does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm not going to go so far as to say it's one of my favorite games.
100%. I won't deny it deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I guess love letter, kind of, or whatever. Based on the other games that they overlooked, though, it's egregious, and we'll get into that. I know we're Andy for that, and so am I. But it deserves. But that's the whole thing. I don't understand why it deserves. I've never understood why people love this game the way they do. It's just fine. It's a fine game, but nothing about it is special. It's just you do this to do that to do this, right? Which is, again, most of our games are some sort of engine building of some sort, and that's kind of what this is. But it's just I don't know. I'm never excited moment to moment. I'm never excited to play it. I wasn't after I'm done, I'm not man, I'm so glad I played. It's just so fine. It's just fine.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you guys why I think they thought it deserved to be in there. They say it brings in Dungeons and Dragons players. You like Dungeons and Dragons? Let's play Lords of Waterdeep. They say it's a basic worker placement game. So because of that, it's really easy for anybody to get into. But I actually, while I enjoy this game immensely, I don't think it belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think one, it doesn't have no theme. That's what Andy said, right? So it's hey, D&D players were like this. No, they won't. It's just cubes. They have no idea what they're doing. I've never bit on that theory of this will bring D&D people into the hobby. Not a fan of that concept.
Well, I'll tell you this much.
It will push them hardcore away. If you want to do that, have them play Descent. Have them play Descent and kind of have a role play dungeon crawly thing going on. Oh, okay, I see there's some more mechanics here going on.
Gloomhaven.
Then they'd be used to in a normal role-playing game, though some role-playing games can be even more crunchy than board games. That's a whole other story. But yeah, it will push them away, in my opinion.
Well, and here's the other thing. It's true the other way around, too. It didn't bring people like me who aren't into D&D into D&D, because I'm what is this even about? Okay. I still don't know what Lords of Waterdeep is about, because I'm not a D&D guy. So I don't know.
It's not about D&D at all. It could be about space monkeys.
And while this game has had longevity, it has been around for a while, and that does speak to a quality of a game, because it is still in print. People still play it. It went online, and it was one of the first online implementations. I think 1 year later, this one went online, and it was actually done really well. So there are some advantages to it that way, but again, there are other games on this list that deserve to be on there from that year. And before we start talking about that, John, did you have one more thing to say?
Yeah, real quick. You were talking about how it's going to bring the Dungeons and Dragons people in, and I tried doing that after I learned this game. was hosting a board game night at another church, and tried to talk to the Dungeons and Dragons guys about it. Hey, you play D&D? Come on, we play Lords of Waterdeep, Tyrants of the Underdark. Nah, they didn't win. They didn't have anything to do with it. And it also reminded me of when on the Dice Tower. Hey, we're talking. It's a Dice Tower show. Let's talk about it. When the game, what is it? Minecrafter Builders and Biomes. That game came out, and Tom Vassell was doing his review of it. And my son, who loves to play Minecraft, what has nothing to do with board games, I was like, "Here, come on, watch this review," because it was so funny. Because Tom's like, "It's just like playing Minecraft." And he's telling you about all you're doing. I'm like, "Look, Jack, it's just like playing Minecraft." He just laughed like, "It's nothing like playing Minecraft. Are you kidding me? It's a game with cubes. I'm not gonna play that." So yeah, I think if you like board games and you like that theme, yes, you'll like it. But it's not going to bring in people that aren't into board games but are into Minecraft or into Dungeons and Dragons. It's not going to happen.
This is a little off topic, but I got to ask. Maybe I've missed it, but the most popular game in the world, probably the last 6 years, has been Fortnite. Is there a Fortnite board game?
There's a Fortnite Monopoly.
Yeah, there's that, but there's no other board game that I know.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to come up with a Fortnite.
There is a game, and it was actually on Game of the Year in one of our lists that we looked at one of the years, and it's called Adrenaline. While it's not Fortnite, it is a first-person shooter. What it is you are shooting a person, and you tag them with like your chip essentially. So if you did 3 wounds with them, you get 3 chips, and when they die, you get points based on that, on how many times you've hit them. But then if you keep killing the same person over and over again, you get less and less. So
3 frags left.
Yeah. So real quick, guys, which games would you have replaced instead of Love Letter or Lords of Waterdeep?
Like, I got to jump in first before Chris, because Chris is going to say the same thing, and this is just an egregious wrong. It is one of the most wrong things that's ever happened. And not only that it wasn't in the Hall of Fame, but if you go back and look at that year, it didn't win any awards, which is just insane. It wasn't even nominated for Best Game of the Year, and I'm talking about this game right up here. Can you see it? I don't even see it. I'm gonna grab it.
We can't. It's in the frame. Yep. Right there.
Tzolk'in! This is one of the best worker placement games of all time.
Yes.
And it didn't make the list for the Hall of Fame, and it didn't win a single award in 2012. I'm flummoxed by that.
You're right, Andy, and I had 2012 at the bottom of my list of worst picks because I think it being overlooked. Also, Keyflower. I don't want to hear it, Chris. That was that year too. Both of those games were overlooked. It is ridiculous. I don't think Keyflower should be in the Hall of Fame, but Tzolk'in definitely should.
I didn't realize Keyflower was 2012, but yeah, Keyflower would be an egregious error too. Yeah. And I saw there's a couple others that were from that year that maybe might have been better than Love Letter, like Libertalia. I mean, that could have been.
Libertalia was the only one that was on my list that I was thinking.
That's kind of a unique one. That was such a unique game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, what do you have?
Yeah, so obviously, well, we're going to get a little numbery here. Okay. Love Letter, currently on BGG, number 341. Lords of Waterdeep, number 87.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm going to go from highest number to lowest number here of things they missed off, in my opinion. So the first one I'm going to go 589, Las Vegas. I understand it's not for everybody, but in my opinion, that game is for sure in my game Hall of Fame, and I can't understand how it would not be for people who've actually played the game. So I'm
better filler game than Love Letter,
and they never actually played it.
Better filler than Love Letter too.
Absolutely. And then 395, so just a little bit more than Love Letter. This is a niche game. If you haven't played it, I get it. It's kind of smaller, and again, it's hard to wrap your mind around. So I can understand a lot of people who played it was like, I didn't get it, I didn't like it. But Ginkopolis. That game is so good. It is so good. You just got to play it a couple times to really wrap your mind around it. But that is a fantastic game.
You're right, Chris. But I'm gonna pause you for a second.
Hall of Fame worthy.
Well,
but I'm just saying
it has had an impact.
I get
Love Letter had an impact.
Okay, that's fine. Impact of but I'm talking about, for me, like I get the idea, but it's still frustrating that just the best isn't the winner, right? Like, this guy's the most. But that's a lot of things, right? There's a whole lot of players in like sports that people like more than the one that's actually the best, right? Because of their charisma or whatever. Right? I don't know, whatever. I just think it's not a big deal. But again, Ginkopolis, please play it if you haven't. Find it.
It is a great game. I didn't realize that was 2012 as well. It's a fantastic game.
60 is Tzolk'in, like we talked about before, and then I don't understand this. This one is a number 30 and like a big time player of Terra Mystica. Terra Mystica. They've made multiple iterations. Gaia Project, Terra Nova, which is kind of the game, but not really. And then they've even made Age of Innovation. Like, it was, you could say, oh, well, it wasn't very good. They had to remake it 3 times. But that's not the case, right? They just iterated on it with either theme or just trying to clean things up, right? But you don't do that if you don't have an impact. So again, how at least Terra Mystica and Zulkin, how they were overlooked. We got Love Letter and Words of Deep. And again, none of this makes any sense. If it's 2013 back 10 years, that's 2023 back to why are we looking at 2012? I don't know. The math doesn't make any sense on what they're doing. But yeah, no,
okay,
that was rough.
Krish, I appreciate your rundown. I'm actually going to run down several games that actually made an impact in the industry and were better. The things you said were better, I agree, but they didn't make impacts. So first and foremost, Netrunner. It was the first. Zulkin did. I agree with Zulkin, not Terra Mystica. But Netrunner, it was the first trading card game that made such a big impact and got tons of people into the hobby. Even our own local mission board games, Mason is in the hobby now because of Netrunner. Netrunner was a bridge between card players and board gaming, and it had a huge impact and shouldn't be ignored. Robinson Crusoe, it was a cooperative game with storytelling. It was a pre-legacy game before legacy stuff got super involved. It also did stuff that computers would have done in the future, but it did it in the game. You get bit by a bear, you shuffle in this card into the game, and later on you're going to find out that the bear had rabies, and now you have rabies. It was this storytelling game that evolved as you went. And then at the bottom of the list, I would say even Smash Up, because Smash Up was a blast, and it even involved, it inspired my favorite game of all time, and that's Marvel Snap. I didn't bring it up. But without Smash Up, you have no Marvel Snap.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Seasons, because you're a big Seasons fan, at least you used to be.
But it didn't have an impact. These are games
every just good game doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
One point of clarification, Android Netrunner was a reprint that year. So
no, it's not a real reprint. That's a whole thing too. It was technically a remaking of the game, but it's totally different than the original one. So not enough time to explain that. John, quickly, what you got for us for
quickly for me? I really didn't have much problem with it because the games that I think would have been Hall of Fame worthy, I'm not a big fan of, which is Zulkin and Netrunner and Keyflower. I don't like any of those games, so I don't really care if they don't get in the Hall of Fame. But I do have to admit that they should have been notably missing from the list of things going in the Hall of Fame, especially when you have Love Letter on there. And as far as things that you're thinking might have had an impact, but Libertalia was the only one that stuck out from that year that really, I don't know. I think the gameplay is very unique in Libertalia. And I think maybe if it hadn't had to be reprinted, you know what I'm saying? Maybe if they had continued printing the game, that it would have been available and would have been played more. I mean, it was like a niche game because it wasn't available. I mean, you had to pay $150 online for a game. So maybe it would have had more of an impact that way, but I love that staring each other down, trying to figure out what cards everybody's played. When you should play your cards, do you have the same cards? Did they play that one yet? Did they play it the first round? All that's really great, and plus it moves quick, but it's really good decisions. I don't know. I really like Libertalia would be the one on my list that I'd like to see in the Hall of Fame.
Sweet. I agree with you too. That would have been a good one. All right. Well, guys, what do you think of the Dice Towers 2023 Hall of Fame inductees? Do you agree with the Dice Tower, and which one of these games, or maybe it was a game we overlooked at all, do you agree should have been on the list?
Round 4, fight!
We're going to close this out now with the one I'm most excited about, and that is predicting who's going to win on August 1st when the Dice Tower have their award ceremony at Gen Con, which I'm going to be able to attend. I'm so excited. Which one of these games are going to be announced as the game of the year? I do believe John went through the entire list, so we'll do him last. But we're going to talk about which one of these game of the years do we think is going to win. So Chris, why don't you start it off here?
Aha! Well, you got it wrong. We're both gonna do them all. So
okay, you are
for me.
Okay,
for me, I'm going over what our the 2023 nominees shows me what has happened to our industry. So we're gonna go through all the different categories very quickly.
No. We're just doing game of the year.
First one, best welcoming game. Don't care. Best artwork. Don't care. Most innovative game. Haven't heard anyone talk about these, but Kunta Hora, whatever, at least it's looked interesting to me before. I can't even pronounce it, because again, what has happened to our industry?
Family show.
Best reprint. So I was like, so a game that should have never gone out of print, that was Raw. Best strategy game, Forest Shuffle. I don't remember that being very strategic, but I played it at Gen Con purely by pure chance because I was walking with Andy, and he was like, hey, let's sit down and play this game no one's ever heard of. And we played it a couple times, and it was pretty good. So we'll go with that. Simple game. But another choice on here was Earth, and that game's awful. Best board game production, don't care. Best game from a small publisher, advertise better because I haven't heard of any of your games on this list except for Distilled. Best cooperative game, don't care. Best two-player game, I have more than one friend, don't care. Best game for a new designer, Hedge Money, or however you pronounce it, should have been on the list for the most innovative game and the best, but it's not. Best party game. Why do we keep giving credence to games like this? I don't care. Actually, I do care, as these games just feed the outside people's community overall opinion that we're just playing children's games and eating hot dogs like Blob Party and That's Not a Hat. What are we doing here, people? Best theme in a game, don't care. Best solo game, I have social skills, I don't care. Game of the year, Forest Shuffle, just shows what has happened to our community.
Wait. Forest Shuffle is not on the list. Oh, it is. I see it there. Sorry.
It is.
Okay. It is on the list.
And I picked it because it was the only game that I even had vaguely heard of.
Really? That disturbs me a little bit there, Chris, because several of these games, I've heard of most of these games. I've played a good chunk of them. And I will tell you that several of them are very well deserving for Game of the Year. For me, my favorite out of them is probably going to be the White Castle, which I really like. I don't think it'll win, but it was a dice placement game that really is fun. And what's nice about it is it condenses a dice placement game into a really quick experience. It doesn't have to be very long. Earth, you know my feelings on Earth. I wasn't too hot about it, mostly because I feel like the theme has been overdone and overused with things like Arc Nova and other things that just Forest Shuffle's also in that category.
Anything that takes place on Earth.
Anything that takes place on Earth is just boring. So, Earth may win, though. Forest Shuffle's a fun little game. I like that one. That's definitely one I've played and I like and I own. Sky Team was a surprising co-op game that I actually enjoy. I don't like many co-ops, but it was a fantastic two-player co-op game. It was really, really fun and very thematic. World Wonders is It was fun. I don't know that it was worthy of Game of the Year. I'm going to go out on a limb here. My prediction, and I haven't played it, but my prediction, just from everything I've heard, is it's going to be Distilled. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about how good Distilled is.
I think we all need to take a moment and just kind of digest the fact that Andy just said he liked a co-op game.
I know, right? That surprised me.
Every now and then, one comes up.
Who did you play with, and how many of the choices did you make?
I believe I played with Nick Seal, and we went through. I think it was like, I don't think it was the complete basic scenario, but it was pretty basic. But it was fun. It was what I liked about it was a filler game. It wasn't long. It truly was what a cooperative game should be, and that is there's no way to alpha game it. Sure. I guess you could, but not really.
That's a character trait more than anything, but sure.
Did you beat Nick Seal?
No, it's
a co-op game.
Yeah, but did you win?
We successfully landed the plane.
And then you kicked him off. Okay. So my prediction
in the last turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my prediction. I actually think Earth is going to win.
Really?
It got so much hype early on, but I could see there being case for two other games, and that's Distilled and Thunder Road Vendetta. Thunder Road was so much hype when it came out, probably even more than Earth. Everyone who's played Thunder Road with all the expansion sets says it was shockingly good. Like they were surprised at how well it worked for just a dice chucking game. And this is a good time to mention that these Dice Tower Awards are nominated by 60 different people who review games. Not all Dice Tower related. They're actually done by the reviewers themselves. So this game got the full treatment from all these reviewers, and I think there's a good chance that one could win. Distilled, I think, is also a good runner-up as well, because I think it's just now getting legs. People are really playing Distilled, and they're talking about how great this game is, and they're still talking about it, unlike Earth, who it was all anybody was talking about, but but distilled is now being talked about all the time. But my pick personally would be Darwin's Journey. I thought Darwin's Journey was an incredible worker placement game. It's like one of the best things about it is you had like 3 or 4 workers, but they had these seals, and you would upgrade them by placing these different colored seals, and that would unlock where they could actually go on the board. So you actually had like unique worker placement, and your worker was different than everybody else's and even different from each other's, and it worked really well. So, but I think Earth is going to take it.
Cool.
I mean, those are good points. I'll give that to you, Daniel. Like, I mean, I don't know. You actually did kind of, I don't know. I never liked Earth. I thought it was a horrible mess, like up there with Wingspan. Yeah. And so, but people love Wingspan. So like, I was going to say, maybe people have come to their senses after a couple plays, be like, listen, I know I bought this game and I want to love it because I spent money on it, but this is really trash. So maybe they are able to get over that money recency bias, so to speak. And I've not played Distilled, but I've heard good things. And there is still a lot of time left in the year. It's only half a year. Yeah. We still got Gen Con. So it's possible Distilled could come back. And I've been intrigued to try to play it.
It'll be announced at Gen Con.
Yeah, in like 3 days.
Wait, what? I thought it's been out for a long time. I keep hearing about it.
This is for 2023.
The Dice Tower Awards are August 1st, so the winner will be picked this Wednesday.
Oh, at Gen Con. I got you. Okay, yeah. My bad. Yeah. So, but regardless, I don't know. We'll see. Also, I did play Thunder Road Vendetta with Mr. Dapper there in red at Gen Con last year, and it's good. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess I would love to believe that I can't imagine a game like that is going to win the game of the year in our current, because it's just a silly dice chucker game. I mean, I love Mad Max's Fury Road as much as the next guy, but that kind of game should not win game of the year. It should not. Or we've completely devolved into a post-apocalyptic board game universe. If that
Crew was at least an original game. Right. This is a remake of an old 80s game. Right. But yeah, funny what you're saying about Earth, because I didn't even think about it until after our show where we did the best of 2023, and nobody even mentioned Earth, as in, not to say anything good or bad. Nobody said anything about it. So that was kind of strange. And I'm one of the big fans of Earth on this show, and it didn't even occur to me to put it on as one of the better games of the year. So, but to get to this year's, yes, I did like Chris. I did a little bit more than Chris. I did go through every category to have something to mention, not just say I don't care. So we'll see. We'll see. It's not in depth though. But to start with, most welcoming game, Knar, Knarr, the Viking game, and then Fiction by Allplay. Those are the two that I'm looking for to win, hopefully. Most innovative game of all the ones nominated, Sky Team. I love that theme, and like Andy was saying, that just sounds really cool. You're trying to get this plane landed, 2-player co-op game. Regardless, it looks pretty cool. Best reprint, you got Castles of Burgundy, you got Santa's Workshop. Either one of those wins, I'll be happy. That's a couple of good ones to pick from. Strategy game, Earth is on there. White Castle, Distilled, Darwin's Journey, Forest Show. It just sounds like Game of the Year ones all over again. So really, it's kind of odd. It's like a lot of the ones from the same category.
Weird, like your game should like matter and not be a party game, and your actions should matter. It's strange. Weird.
Small publisher, Distilled, I think is going to definitely win for at least best game from a small publisher. Co-op, Sky Team will probably win it, but I want to see Unmatched Tales to Amaze win that, because that's gotten non-gamers into playing games on my side. So Chris is going to hate it, but Unmatched Tales to Amaze. And did you see that they're coming out with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one that is also a Tales to Amaze, where it's played co-op, where you're going against the villains from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that's going to be cool. 2-player game, you got Lorcana, Sail, and Sky Team are the leaders. I would say I want to see Sail win it, but Sky Team probably will.
I think Star Wars deck building game. Oh no, never
mind. Think that's going to do it?
No. I thought it was the collectible game. Never mind.
Oh, okay, no, Continue. It's the deck building game. New designer, we got some good ones there. Apiary, Distilled, Forest Shuffle, Hegemony. But does anybody not think Last Light is going to win from New Designer?
No, I think Hegemony is going to win, because that was a massive undertaking for a first-time designer.
Last Light will win.
Apiary is a dark horse there too.
Yeah, they're all dark horses.
It's Last Light based on the designer. There's a whole lot of,
I will be shocked if it doesn't. And not even any shade throwing their way. I mean, no pun intended with Last Light, but I don't see any reason why
can't
it wouldn't
imagine
win.
that everyone's going to not vote for that
Exactly.
But again, these aren't just Dice Tower people. These are reviewers.
No, but it's people
from all
voting on the Dice
people
Tower.
like you that want to be best friends with Board Game Jesus. They ain't gonna
You have to know the Dice
accept,
Tower to
his
vote on it.
apostle.
You're gonna vote for it. It's like no judgment on my part.
Right.
Party game. Yes, Among Cultists, Blob Party. That's not a hat. I'm with Chris on these games. Fiction is in there. That's from All Play. Fiction is in there from All Play. That's what I'm hoping wins. Best theme. Okay, Age of Comics, better win for best theme. Making the comics, that's an amazing theme. Okay, then to the solo, who cares? Then game of the year. There's so many good options. This, unlike some of these years that we went through, there are so many good options. The tops are probably Earth, regardless. The White Castle, World Wonders would probably be my favorite one on there.
Okay,
I knew it.
But the one I think will probably win, Ticket to Ride Rails to the West. You're putting Ticket to Ride, you're adding the what do you call it? Legacy game to it.
Legacy. But I've heard not good things. I've
only heard good
things.
I've only heard good things. I think the fact that they did that with Ticket to Ride and it's approachable, people are going to play it. I think that might have a great chance.
I heard good things if you have a higher player count. I heard bad things if it's a 2-player count.
Oh, well, yeah, you wouldn't want to play it 2. I can say that about almost any game.
I just heard that the legacy pieces didn't really change much of the game. It didn't really make it all that different and interesting. So,
yeah, well, I don't know. They didn't show it to us at Gen Con last year.
Hey, so I think we all picked different games, right? Just real quick, what was your best game of your pick? Mine was Earth. John's was Ticket to Ride. Andy, what was yours?
My favorite was the
what do you think?
So which one do you think's going to win?
I'm going to win the distilled.
Distilled, and then Chris.
Earth. Sadly.
Okay, so me and Chris, I think we should get points if any of us got it right. So next show, we'll start
out with points.
Yeah, that's right.
I like it.
All right, cool. All right, guys, well, let us know, what do you think is going to be the game of the year, and give us your predictions before August 1st. And then if you're watching this after August 1st, what do you think of the winner? Are you outraged? Do you think this was a good list? Are you like me and John, who believe that this is actually the definitive board game of the year list that can be used for many years to come? I think Dice Tower has set the standard for what board game nominations should be, and whether you like Dice Tower or not, whatever, I think this award is pretty significant, and I think it's going to be the #1 award eventually. Give it a little bit more time, but it will
9 there. It's no in German.
All right, yeah.
Yes.
All right, you spiel lover. All right. All right. Well, that was enough about the Dice Tower. Let's talk about us again, and let's look at one of the winners. So we got me and Andy, who were running away with it all game, but apparently our game of the year just sucked because we dropped into 6th to last place. John almost surpassed Chris with 17, but in the end, Chris is the winner. So Chris,
I can't believe it.
Give us 2 minutes of whatever nonsense you have to say.
Okay. We've talked about this before. It confounds me. I just want to keep talking about it. Why can't we just be happy with, like, why do we have to push away house rules to make a game good so hard? Like why can't we just make small tweaks? Like, I'm just writing off what I wrote here. It's like, yes, I know it's kind of a house rule, but in Dune Imperium, a game that I know Daniel doesn't like because of some very specific details, why can't we fix the issue of not having the card you need by keeping the card back for the next round? Like, you have to get rid of all your cards, as I remember. I've been based on the notes here. It's been a while since I played it. But, like, why can't you just make a tweak? Like, okay, instead of having to get rid of your cards, you can keep one back. So at least you have some idea of what you're going to do the next round. Why can't we just make these small tweaks that are house rules? I get it, but, like, why can't we just make small tweaks and be like, this game would be perfect, except, and do it? Why can't we do that? Like, I'm telling you, like, that's the crux of my. I have other stuff I could talk about when it comes to house rules, but, like, that one happened recently and made me think about it. Like, I don't understand why, as a community, the idea of house rules, we just push away it so hard, opposed to being like, I know the fix, just do it. Just do it. Why not? Like, I'm no one's saying anything, which is weird.
Well, because you have the big screen. This is your 2 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Chris wins. So,
all right, I think he just has released his time.
I use these 2 minutes to solve the community's problems.
Well, Chris, I'll give you a really good reason why.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Board Game Geek app where you chart your games?
Board game stats. Yes,
Are you gonna
we're sponsored by them. Not really.
If you're gonna log your games and you're playing under a different set of rules than Daniel, and you're scoring 20 points playing Dune Imperium, and he's averaging 8, and it's like, well, that's because I'm keeping 3 cards every time. What do you do? I don't keep any cards because I play by the rules, and these are my legit scores. That's just one
rules, Chris.
Chris,
the other reason
John's being foolish there. That's just foolishness. But I agree. You should be able to do whatever you want. However, the one caveat I'll say is that the rules as they're written were play tested. They were play tested over and over and over again to be balanced. So you do what you want, but the rules that are the actual rules have been vetted.
I hear that. And I would understand that if you were someone new to the hobby. All 4 of us, I've been doing it longer than anyone, but all 4 of us have been doing it long enough that we can play a game the first time and we're like, this game's broken. And when that happens, we know it. It doesn't matter how many times it was play tested, it's still broken. And more often than not, they haven't play tested. This is something, now granted, this is a bit of a pullover for me from role-playing games, but people in role-playing games are like, oh no, you have to do what the rules say because it's been play tested. That is a load of crap. Specifically in role-playing games, there is no way you can actually balance them. But again, I know you're shrugging, but I'm telling you, it opened my eyes to it. That there is no way, with the amount of games that they are pushing out every single year, they are taking the time to playtest and put the R&D in these games that they used to. This is also the reason I like older games, because they didn't put out as many, they worked harder, they thought about it. And so what I'm saying is we've all played games long enough to be like, this game's messed up. Everything about this game is great, but this doesn't match everything else. Then come together as your play group and fix that problem, and then play it and have a good time. I hate the fact that I have no interest in playing Dune Imperium ever again because of a couple of very unbalanced things. I want to fix those things and play that game over and over. But for some reason, we don't want to do that as a community. I don't get it.
I don't understand your complaint about Dune Imperium.
I like how Chris asked us our opinion just so he can yell at us again.
Right.
About how wrong we were.
No, it's his time. He can do what he wants.
I like to talk things out, but I wasn't just trying to yell at you, but I was just being honest. I don't.
It was a joke, Chris.
I know. I hear what you're saying, but
to be fair.
I have 500 games.
You don't need all those, Daniel. This is the same.
But I have them.
I tell you forever. You don't need all those games.
I do. I need them.
To be fair, Chris, you can tell it's a newer game because they will, after it releases, they will release the what do you call it? The errata. Yes.
Yeah. Errata, FAQ, and
all the errors will be released. So
the Mea culpa.
The Mea culpa.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. And guys, if you've been watching this for a while, you know our wrap up includes birthdays or relegation. But our producer Randy went through some extra work this time to give us an entire stock tracker of the entire top 100. So for your viewing pleasure, Andy is going to treat us with this old-timey stock tracking thing. So buckle in. It's going to be fun.
Well, is Andy going to be on the big screen?
Yes.
No, that's not necessary.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
All right, board gamers out there, listen to this. We've got Arkham Horror, the card game. That's down from 25 to 26. Wingspan's down from 26 to 28. Great Western Trail, 2nd edition. That goes up from 27 to 25. Terra Mystica is down 28 to 30. Frosthaven is up 30 to 27. Averdell, the one with the big tree, that one is down 35 to 36. Barrage, 36 to 35. Very confusing game about dams. I don't give a damn. Caverna, Caverna's down 47 to 48. Kanban, if you're a big fan of the heavy Euros, you might like Kanban EV. It's up 48 to 47. Blood Rage is down 49 to 50. I won't go what I'm thinking about Blood Rage. We're not going to go there. It's a family show. Anachrony, that's up 50 to 49. So it swapped places with Blood Rage there. Pandemic Legacy Season 2 down to 56 from 55. Lisboa is up from 55 to 56. We've also got Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. That's now down 57 to 58. Cthulhu Death May Die. That goes up from 57 to 58. 58 to Zolkin, if you will, 59 down to 60, which is a real shame, a real tragedy. Maracaibo is down 60 to 61. For those of you out there who care about Friedman Freeze games, well, I don't think that's many of you, but maybe some. I guess Chris. Power Grid, well, it's down 61 to 62. It needs to fall a few more, in my opinion. Obsession, well, that's up 62 to 59. It's gained a bit there. And the Gallerist, that's down 68 to 69. Star Wars Imperial Assault is down 69 to 70. The Crew, 70 to 74. Thank goodness, get that co-op crap out of there. Mechs vs. Minions, 71 to 72. Oathsworn is up 72 to 68. Kingdom Death Monster, 74 to 75. Agricola, the revised edition, is down 1, 75 to 76. They never should have revised it. Those animeeples are terrible. Hegemony up 76 to 71. Eclipse 80 to 81. I'm not sure what's going on there. Clank 81 to 82. Eon's End, that would be 82 to 83. Fields of Arl 83 to 84. Unfortunate, because that's one of the best two-player games out there. Beyond the Sun 84 to 85. We did see Teotihuacan also drop 85 to 86. Through the Ages is 86 to 88. Dominant Species down 88 to 90. The Voyages of Marco Polo down 89 to 92. A lot of downers here today, folks. The El Grande is down 90 to 91. Seven Wonders 91 to 94. Robinson Crusoe Adventures of the Cursed Island down 92 to 93. And rounding things out, The Search for Planet X, 93 to 95. These are all downers, I'm so sorry to say. Tainted Grail, The Fall of Babylon, 94 to 98. Concordia Venus, 95 to 97, if you like your Concordia cooperative. And I believe that's the cooperative version. Decrypto, down 96 to 99. And then falling all the way down to the 100th spot would be Enos, 97 to 100. Thank you. That's your latest board game stock market update.
Impressive.
Good job. Good job.
Very
Andy.
good.
I'm
Thank
taking
you.
notes. I know what to invest in now.
Yes.
I'm selling all my shares in Crew.
Yes.
Right.
Good idea. It's fallen.
Oh, by the way, let's get to what we always do, and that is we get to, well, not always, but often. Besides talking about the stock, we talk about what's actually fallen out of the top.
Yes.
100. I
What's
believe
fallen
it's
out,
called-
Andy?
What's it called?
Well, I'm looking forward to the definition of relegation.
Chris, what do you
That's
got
all
for us?
All right. Well, this time we have 3 to highlight here. Trickerton, Legends of Illusion, has been
Carry on.
I don't have. I don't have Carry on.
Carrion.
Whatever. It's a dumb name, dumb game. It ain't in the top 100 anymore, people. And we got Age
Not gonna work here anymore.
That's right.
Exactly. Thank you. Age of Innovation up at 96 in its place, and then we got Architects of the West Kingdom. It was at 99. It's fallen off. Now it's been replaced by that Sky Team 89. And yes, I actually have heard Sky Team. Haven't played it. I don't know. Again, I feel like I'm getting more and more anti-co-op than like almost everyone on the show. I don't know. They do not speak to me anymore at all. Anyways,
Andy gonna switch.
apparently.
Maybe.
And then Battlestar Galactica. Oh man, that one actually really does suck. Oh man, this really sucks for all the reasons. Is that it dropped from 98 to completely off the board. To the game that I was talking about just a moment ago has somehow jumped up to 80, even though it has 2 extremely broken pieces of it, Dune Imperium.
Dune Imperium is a great game. I'm
I
surprised
think
it
that's
wasn't.
Uprising.
It has the potential of a great game, but there's 2
No.
things that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Now,
If
wait,
you have
hold on,
broken
pause it.
pieces
Pause.
in the
Have you played
game,
any
take
of
it back, they'll
expansions
replace
with
it.
the revised version or not?
This is the revised version. This is Dune Imperium Uprising. So that's why Dune Imperium is on there. And then Chris, they might have fixed the things you had an issue with. When we did a review of Dune Imperium, some people told us to go ahead and play Uprising because they fixed some of the things we complained about. So maybe they play tested it after all, Chris.
So
Yeah,
shut your mouth.
Maybe my black heart's just showing here that they're like, hey guys, what we could do is we could work real hard and push out like 20 games, and only 10 of them are going to be any good. But then like another 5 or 6 are going to be almost there, and we'll push out a expansion to actually fix them and make them buy 2 games when we could just spend a little extra time and make a good game.
You know what it reminds me of? You guys have all seen the holiday classic.
I love
that is-
Daniel. He's like, yeah, that checks out.
You guys have all seen the holiday classic that is Elf, right?
Mhm.
Who hasn't, right?
Oh yeah.
You remember in that movie, they got in trouble because they had their kids' book that they just like decided like, we didn't wrap up the story, so we just left the
Yes.
pages blank at the end.
Yes.
I feel like sometimes maybe that's what board game producers are. Gen Con's coming. We don't have time. Just
Yeah.
put it in the box. Get it out there. Sell it.
Yep.
Nobody will notice.
Why you always play your games before you buy them, people. Make Daniel buy them, realize there's crap, and then you don't have to own them.
You can't do that on Kickstarter, Chris.
That's why you don't do Kickstarter.
I want to just take this
comes together.
moment to finish out this very special night by thanking our wonderful viewers out there. Remember to tap those like and subscribe buttons. Be sure to join our Facebook group Around the Board. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Send us a message, email even, mail at aroundtheboard.net, and I will learn to talk for a living. You can also reach out to us on other social mediums that we don't really monitor, like Twitter and TikTok. But you can try anyway. Until then, we'll see you next time right here.
Around
the board. I never know if he wants us to say it or not.
I know. Sometimes he does, sometimes
it's
he doesn't.
a mystery.
He waited so long that time, I just was like, all right, I'm going.
World champ, baby.
Woo! God, 2023! Or 2024!
Uncle Rico in the green.